Hello and welcome back to Betty's Book Basket. Today we are going to be reading the book, Chapter 2 is Missing. Chapter 1. Wait! I don't want to alarm you, but Chapter 2 is missing. It was definitely here yesterday, and it can't have walked off on its own, so that can only mean someone stole it. Whoever took Chapter 2 didn't leave a ransom note. I would pay any price to get Chapter 2 back, obviously, because without Chapter 2, the book isn't complete. If you happen to see Chapter 2 or notice any suspicious characters lurking around the book, please call the police at 925-55-FIND-2 and ask for Detective McGarrigan. She's the police officer in charge of the investigation. Or you can email her at detectmcgare@gmail.com. Or you can tweet her at Chapter 2 Book. Now, maybe you don't believe me about Chapter 2 being missing. Well, turn the page and take a look for yourself. Uh-oh. It looks like there used to be a chapter here, but now there's just some smudges. Let's get to the bottom of this. Chapter 3. And furthermore, continued Milo the janitor, I think you owe me an apology. Milo, I said, I don't have time for apologies. Can't you see that Chapter 2 is missing? Milo shrugged. That doesn't make any difference to me. I'm just the janitor here after all. Then get back to work while I deal with this crisis, I said. But first, please return the period that should be at the end of this sentence. I didn't think you wanted that, said Milo, and I thought it would look better at the end of this sentence next to the period I've already got. Well, it doesn't look better. It looks silly, I said. But don't bother returning it now. I don't want it after you've used it. Milo picked up his mop and walked out grumbling under his breath about how nobody respected a book's janitor, even though he was the one that kept the book clean enough to read. Just then, Detective McGarrigan entered. I have good news, she said, with a frown on her face. Chapter 4. What? I said. Have you found Chapter 2? No, she said. Well, what's the news? I asked. I don't have any news, she said. I was puzzled. But you ended Chapter 3 by telling me you had good news. Now you're telling me that you have no news? Yes, said Detective McGarrigan, and everyone knows that no news is good news. I couldn't argue with that logic. After all, she's the detective. Has anybody called you at 925-55-FIND-2 and left a tip? Or have you gotten any emails at detectmcgare@gmail.com? Any tweets at Chapter 2 Book? Yes, she said, but I can't tell you what they said. Why not? I asked. Because that information is supposed to be in Chapter 5. Chapter 5. But this is Chapter 5, I said. Detective McGarrigan looked around. So it is, she said. Boy, these chapters are really whizzing by. Remember when I walked in back in Chapter 3? Don't get sentimental on me, I said. Just tell me what tips the readers have given you. Maybe one of them is a clue. It's at the end of the book. I don't think so, he said. All I've gotten are messages from a bunch of crazy people telling me that I'm very, very stupid and that you're very, very, very stupid. Well, that's obviously not true, I said. Exactly, she agreed. So, how can I believe anything they say when they tell me all kinds of crazy theories that Chapter 2 is hidden on the inside back cover of the book and that you have to use a mirror to read it and that the thief is obviously... Milo! I yelled. Milo came running in, dragging his mop behind him. Now what's wrong? He asked. I pointed up. What's that giant pile of M's doing in the middle of the page? Chapter 6. I thought you wanted those there, he said. I think they look rather nice. Well, they don't look nice, I said. They look sloppy. Oh, said Milo. Do you want me to sweep them all into Chapter 1? Nobody goes there anymore. Don't bother, I said. I never liked Chapter 5 anyway. Am I still here or not? Asked Detective McGarrigan. You're still here, I said. Okay, just checking, because I haven't said anything for a while. She turned to Milo. Milo, do me a favor. Go to the end of the book and see if Chapter 2 is printed on the inside back cover. Okay, said Milo, But as payment, I'm going to take all the punctuation from your next 3 sentences. You'd better not, you scoundrel! Do you have any idea who I am? I'll throw you in jail, you creepy weasel, you animal, yelled Detective McGarrigan. Quotation mark, apostrophe, comma, exclamation mark, question mark, apostrophe, comma, exclamation mark, quotation mark, said Milo. And he left. Chapter 7. Milo came back. That was fast, I said. A lot can happen between chapters, said Milo. 100 years can go by. Have 100 years gone by? I asked. Detective McGarrigan stroked her long white beard. I don't know. Did you find chapter 2 printed on the inside back cover? I asked. No, said Milo. I found something printed on the inside back cover, but it's the opposite of chapter 2. What do you mean? Asked Detective McGarrigan. Milo said, the thing printed on the inside back of the cover is called Outrich Pratch. Well, that doesn't make any sense, said Detective McGarrigan. It doesn't seem so, said Milo. Of course, maybe it will make sense after a little reflection. And then he laughed as if he made a joke, which was very stupid of him, because of course he hadn't. Will you stop all that infernal chuckling? I raged. The book is halfway over and we still haven't found chapter 2. I need to think. Chapter 45. Well, this isn't supposed to be here, said Space President Emmy Sue. No, it's certainly not, I said. I don't even think it's supposed to be part of this book. This is supposed to be a mystery story, not a science fiction adventure. Let's just ignore it, said the Space President as she landed her rocket ship on Jupiter. Maybe it will go away. Chapter 8. That's better, I said. What's better? Asked Detective McGarrigan. Don't worry about it, I said. You weren't there. Now, where were we? You just made me stop chuckling because you said you needed to think, said Milo. That's right, I said. I did, and I still can't think because you people won't stop talking. So here's what we're going to do. Everyone is going to be absolutely quiet for 3 whole chapters. Understand? No talking. Beginning when? Asked Detective McGarrigan. Beginning now. Chapter 9. Chapter 10. Chapter 11. Chapter 12. I've got it, I said, and I snapped my fingers. Detective McGarrigan collapsed on the floor. Her face had turned purple. You idiot, I said. I said no talking. I didn't say you had to hold your breath. Her eyes fluttered open. I misunderstood, she whispered. After she recovered, I explained to her that I'd solved the mystery. Only one person has been acting suspiciously and shifting things around and stealing things throughout this whole book. Therefore, the person who stole chapter 2 is obviously Ilo. I smiled triumphantly. Who's Ilo? Asked Detective McGarrigan. Not Ilo. I said Ilo. That didn't come out right. I tried again. Ilo. But I still couldn't say it. I see what happened, I said. He stole all of the s out of I sentences, and now I can't say his name. His what? Asked Detective McGarrigan. Then he stashed the whole big pile of stolen s in chapter 5, and I said, that Anne is a Ennis, a onster. Oh, you mean the M's, said Detective McGarrigan. She looked around the chapter. Say, where's Milo? Oh, my goodness, I said. He's missing. Chapter 13. Can we skip this chapter? Asked the detective nervously. I'm superstitious, and 13 is a very unlucky number. But I was already halfway through. I'd spotted something in the next chapter. It looked like a handwritten note from Milo. Chapter 14. By handwritten, I mean that Milo had traced his hand and written on it so that it looked like a turkey. He had labeled the turkey you. I don't know why he would want to insult you, though. He doesn't even know you. I guess he's just rude. On the other side of the paper, he had typed a message. Chapter 15. The message said, You fools have turned me into a criminal. Now I have escaped, and you will never get your precious Chapter 2 back. Love, Milo. Detective McGarrigan said, I wonder if that was written by the same Milo we know. It has to be our Milo, I said. Not necessarily, said Detective McGarrigan. There are lots of people named Milo in the world. Yes, I said, but if it was written by a Milo we didn't know, he wouldn't have signed it Love. Detective McGarrigan was impressed. You should be a detective, she said. Chapter 16. So that's that, I said. We've solved the case. The villain is Milo. But where is Chapter 2, and why did Milo steal it? Asked Detective McGarrigan. I shrugged. It was the kind of shrug that says, there are some things we'll never know. Detective McGarrigan shrugged too. It was the kind of shrug that says, a cockroach crawled down my back. That kind of thing never happened when this book had a janitor. Of course, if you happen to stumble across Chapter 2, or if you have any idea why Milo turned to crime, please call 925-55-FIND2, or tweet at Chapter 2 Book, or email the detective at detectmcgare@gmail.com. My personal theory is that there never was a Chapter 2, and Milo only pretended there was one in order to distract me while he stole the Hope Diamond, which I had left hidden under your bed. Go look under your bed now. If a giant blue diamond isn't there, you'll know that Milo succeeded. It's not there, is it? I was right. I guess that janitor is sorry he ever tangled with a genius like me. You may have escaped me this time, Milo, but you'll make a mistake someday. And on that day, I will be waiting like a cat that is waiting for a mouse who stole the Hope Diamond. And the mouse thinks he got away with it, but there will be a cat there waiting. And that cat will be me, and I will be waiting like a cat. The end. Betty and I hope you enjoyed Chapter 2 is Missing. Please like and subscribe, and always make sure to keep exploring, keep reading, and be kind to the earth.